So in this video, we're just going to be merging our JavaScript Pinterest clone into a Chrome extension. And so we click the little icon, the Chrome extension icon here. We have the ability to add a pin or my board. We click the my board and the Chrome extension remembers which pins we pinned using the local storage, and it just gives them to the board, and the board displays them. We can also add a pin like this. So we add a pin and notice how it fills out the URL of the page we were on, that Facebook page, and the title in that little bar here, the tab title right there. We can say Facebook like this. We can say this is Facebook, and then we can upload an image either locally from our hard drive, or we've added in this video. It's not in the previous project, but in this video, we added the ability to save from a site. So we click this, we can do Control V of a URL to an image, a JPEG or a GIF or PNG. We can upload that image here. We select the size of the pin. Let's go medium for this one. We save. It saves it to the board. Let's close the board. Let's reopen the board. And it should have 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if this interests you at all, be sure to follow our socials, the Twitter and the Instagram, just to keep up to date with what's happening on this channel, the video of the week, projects we're working on down the pipeline. And with all of that said, let's begin. All right, so let's start off by, let me show you the JavaScript Pinterest clone. I'm not going to go over how it works in this video. I did a separate video on that. I'll have a link in the description box below. Or if you're watching on YouTube, a card on the top right. So let me just show you the files here. We have a board.html. We have a script which manages the board like that. And then we just have a bunch of styles. I'm not going to go over these guys. Board style, or CSS, modal styles, normalized pin styles. And so this is the board here. It's just a blank page with a plus button for adding a pin. We click this plus button and we just have a modal. And so we can add a title to our pin, we can have a description, a destination link, we can have a small, medium, or large pin, and we can upload an image from their hard drive. So that's the board there. This is the HTML for it. A bunch of stuff. I'm not going to go over how it works. We're going to modify it slightly in this project. And the board.js just allows us to add pins, save a pin, create the pin, then we add the pin to the board, and then we can reset the modal here. So that's the JavaScript Pinterest clone. Let me show you what we're working with for the Chrome extension. Let's look at the manifest. Let me close this folder. All right, manifest.json. What do we have? We have name, description, version. We're using manifest version 2. These are the icons right here. Background script. We're not using an options page, but I'll leave that in there in case you want to do an options page for this. We have the browser action default. We're using the pop-up. I'll show that to you guys in a second. Permissions. So we have the tabs permissions, storage, and unlimited storage. Don't quote me on this, but I think storage is a max of, 5 megabytes. If you want to save higher file size images for your pins, we're going to need to request the unlimited storage permission. So that's what that's there for. And then we just have these domains. So later on in the video, this board as it stands, the vanilla version we coded, it only allows you to upload images from your hard drive. Later on in this project, we're going to implement a function where you can actually give this board or this modal a URL. It'll fetch or download that image and show the image as the pin here. And so that's why we need these permissions. So any sort of, we could do HTTP, but we're doing all HTTPS. So any HTTPS protocol, any domain, Control Z that, and then any URL or URI ending in image file extension. So PNG, JPEG, and a GIF. So that's the manifest. And where should we begin? So we're going to do this in 3 steps or three phases. Phase 1, we're just going to get the whole thing merged. So we're going to merge the Chrome extension with the Pinterest clone. Phase 2, we're going to add that behavior where instead of just letting the user upload an image from their hard drive, we're going to allow them to upload an image from a URL. So that's phase 2. And then in phase 3, what are we going to do? Yes, we're going to make the Chrome extension remember which pins are on the board. So we're going to use the storage for that. So when you open up your board like this, I didn't show you the pop-up. This is the pop-up here. You just add pin my board. So when you open up the board like this, it'll fetch all of the images associated with your board and show them on the page. So that's the phase 3, making the Chrome extension remember your actual Pinterest board. So let's start off with phase 1, which is just merging these two. Currently, they don't know each other exist. We're going to fix that now. So I can close. Actually, I'll keep this open in case I need to refer to it. Do I need this page? No. Do I need this page? Yeah, we'll keep that open. All right, so a bit of housekeeping before we actually begin coding. For the Pinterest clone, we need to change the normalize a bit. So this normalize file, we're just going to have a default font size of, and for the normalize, that's going to be in the board, 16 pixels. We save that. Okay, and now we need to add one more input field for our Pinterest clone. So currently we have add title, we have tell everyone what your pin is about. We need a place to add a title for the link. So in the normal way this works is they add the link here, so something like google.com, and that would display on the pin. You want to do it a bit different. So this will be the destination URL. You want to give them the chance to name that link, something like that, so it doesn't look so crummy. So we're going to add another input here that lets them add a site title for the destination link. So let's go into here, and that would be in the board.html, and then we need to go into the logic and code for grabbing that value, board.js, and then we'll head into the Chrome extension bits. So board.html, we have an input for their title, for the, what is this one? What the pin is about, description. Add a destination link, we'll copy this, paste that here, and we're going to say add a title for your link. Add a title for your link. Text, new input, and give it an appropriate ID. So pin destination, we'll say title like that. So now when we refresh this, add a title for your link. We need to capture this value in the actual script. So let's go to the script here. There's 3 places we take the inputs. The first one is when we save the pin, right here. So we have author, board, title, description, destination, image blob, which is just the image data, pin size, small, medium, large. Let's add a value in this object. Let me copy this. And we'll call it destination title. Destination title like that. And we'll grab the destination title value like that. So now it's saved. We then create the pin. So once we create the pin, this is the code for creating a pin. This shows it showed the URL. You want to show the actual title they entered. We don't want to show this here, https://google.com. We want to show this to the user. So right here, we can replace pin details destination with the destination title. And we're going to surround this entire thing in an anchor tag like this. So href is going to be what this used to be right here. So that's going to be, enter there, that is going to be pin_details.destination. That's the URL. And we're just going to code in an inline style here. I don't want to create a separate declaration in the CSS. We're just going to style text decoration. Just going to remove anything associated with showing that it's a link. Decoration is equal to none. Equals, now we do this, none, like that. And we'll do a target of blank to open up to a new page. Blank, like that. And we'll close the A here, /A, and we'll do a proper indentation, which should be tab, and this guy should be here like this. There we go. So that's the second place we have it. We got the value. We're putting the value in the actual pin that shows on screen. And then when we reset the modal, we're clearing all of these values here. So we'll just clear here. So let me copy this line, paste that line here. Pin destination title dot value is equal to blank. Okay. So now if I close this like that, it should clear these 2 fields. And it didn't clear this one. Why is that? I have to F5 it. Blah, 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 blah. Cleared all the fields. There we go. All right, so that's just a bit of addition to our Pinterest clone. Now let's merge it with the actual Chrome extension. So let me close this, and let's go to the pop-up. So when we click the add pin, we'll do the add pin now, my board later. When you click the add pin, we want to open up this board and have the program click on this and then fill in these based on whichever site the user's on. So let me just say, for example, we're on google.com and we click the add pin. That should open the board, open this, and this should fill in automatically to whatever this is, a copy automatically to this, and this automatically to whatever titles in the bar here. So that would be Google like that. So let's go into the pop-up. We're going to need the popup.js. And what we're going to do is, what are we going to do? We have to code for when they click that button. So document.querySelector. And what did I name the button? ID of add pin. So we need to grab the add pin. We'll listen for a click. Add event listener click. Now when we listen for a click, we need to capture which tab they're on. But since they're clicking in the pop-up window, there's no tabs in this. So we need to know which window they're on, this entire window, and then which tab is active. So we need to go about it like this. Chrome.windows.getCurrent. The first argument is going to be populate, and that's going to be true. The second argument is going to be the window. So that's going to be this entire guy here, like that. And then we're going to save the site to pin, and we're going to loop through the window, all of the tabs in the window, all of these guys, and we're going to look for which one's active. So window.tabs.filter, and we say tab. We're just looking for the tab.active is equal to true like that. But since we're looking for true, we're just going to write it like this. So now we have which tab is the active tab in the active window, and it's an array because the filter returns an array. So now we're going to message the Chrome extension. So chrome.runtime.sendMessage. This is messaging the background script, the background.js. We'll get to that in a second. We're going to send it a message called add_pin, and the payload is going to be the URL. That's going to be in the site to pin. This is an array. So the first item in the array is the active tab. I'm going to send the URL, and we're going to send the destination title. That's just the title in the title bar here. Destination title, and we'll say site to pin 0 and title. Message, good. All right, so let's go into the background.js and capture this message. So we'll open up the background.js, and we need two variables here. The first is we need to know which tab they're on. What's the ID of the tab? So we'll say recent tab ID is equal to null for now, and we need to save the information that we get back. So this stuff here, URL and destination title. So let's call that the new pin data like that, and that's going to be equal to an empty object. All right, let's code the listener for the messages. So chrome.runtime on message, let's say add listener, leave some more room there. Add listener, 3 arguments for the callback. We have the request, the sender of the request, and the ability to send a response back to them. All right, so let's say if the request.message is equal to add pin, we're going to do a few things. First, let's save the new pin data. Actually, should we? Yeah, we'll save the new pin data. So new pin data is equal to, and we'll just destructure the request like this. ... request.payload. So we have the new pin data saved. Now we're going to create a tab and open up the board. So when, let's say we're at Google, we click on add pin, it saves the URL, the title, sends it to the background opens up this page, and then we'll do some stuff there. So to open up the board, we'll just do this, chrome.tabs.create, 2 arguments here. The first is active, true, and the second is the URL. The URL is just going to be the board. And so that would be in ./board.html. Board.html. And that gives us back, once it opens that tab, it gives us back the tab ID. So we'll do the tab, and we'll save the tab ID. So recent tab ID is equal to tab.id like that. And I'll show you why in a second. All right, so we got the message from the pop-up to add a pin. We saved the URL and the site title, and then we opened up the board. Now, what we need to do is, let's go to the board.js. Every time this board opens up, we're going to run the script. Board.js right here. Now, every time this board.js runs, it's going to look for this. it's going to run or send a message to our background. Runtime.send message, and that message is going to be, say, board underscore loaded. We'll do something with the response in a second. Response. Now, why do we need to do this? Well, we need to pass the board, this guy right here, once it loads up and then it opens this, we need to pass it the URL, the HTTP stuff, and the title. We can't, I don't know a way of, opening up a tab and sending the URL information. So we need to open up the tab first, and then once that tab opens up with the board messages the same background, says, hey, I'm open, you can give me information now, and then we'll give the information to the board. So every time this board opens, we'll send a message to the background saying board loaded, and our background's going to say, else if request.message is equal to board loaded, we'll check something. Now, are you the same board that messaged the add pin? To check for that, we're just going to check the recent tab ID. So we're going to say if the sender, which is this guy right here, the sender of the message, the sender of this message right here, if sender.tab.id is the same as this tab ID right here. Are you the same guy who gave me this add pin message? So it would be recent tab ID. Then I'll give you this data here. So I'll send a response. We'll say, what should the response be? We'll say message of success. So I got your message, and here's the payload. Payload is just going to be the new pin data. So that's basically one transaction. Every time we click the add pin button, it sends the information to the background saying add pin. Add pin opens up the board right here. And then the board sends a message to the background saying, okay, I'm open. And the background sends the new pin data. So that's one transaction, you could say. And so since that transaction's fulfilled, we used up the recent tab ID, we used up the new pin data, we can clear those guys again. So we'll say new pin data is equal to null, and we'll say, what was it? New pin data null. No, not null, excuse me. That should be empty object, and we'll say recent tab ID is equal to null. All right, so let's go to the board and code for the payload, this guy right here. So back to the board.js, the response, we'll say if response.message is equal to success, that means we got the payload from the background. And so we're just going to add the value of the link here and the title here. So we'll do this. We'll copy these guys right here. That's the destination, that's the URL. And this guy is the site title or destination title. And so the value is going to be equal to the response.payload, and we saved it as URL. And for the destination title, response.payload.destination title, like that. And once we fill these guys out, those two inputs, we still need to show this modal. So just because we filled these guys out, like whatever there, that doesn't mean this guy pops up. So we need to programmatically click this button. So we'll just do this. Document dot, was it query selector, and that was hashtag add underscore pin, and we'll say click like that. Okay, let's see if it works. So close this, close this, close this. We can close this board. Let me close this. Let's refresh the, we got an error. What's the error? mystyles.css, that was from what? Refresh. Let me just check what that mystyles.css was. mystyles. Nope. Does board pop up? Are you using a mystyles? Pop-up styles. What's using mystyles? Background, foreground. No. All right, let's check. All right, refresh. Let's go to google.com and we will click add pin, and it doesn't click this button. Why is that? Oh, sorry, the add pin hashtag is this one. That's the ID. This is add pin as a class. So let's go back into the, who opens that? The board.js. This guy should be a dot. Save, go back, close, close, clear, refresh, open up Google, click on our little extension, click add pin. There we go. We have the URL inserted and the Google. They can modify it here if they want Google search, whatever. All right, that's good for phase 1. For phase 2, what are we going to do? We're going to add a bit of CSS. I don't know if I might just import it. Yeah, I think I'll import it I'm not going to go line by line constructing it. I'm just going to show you how it works. We're just going to add an option to add from a URL from here. They're going to add the URL, and then we'll code. I'll actually walk you through that. We'll code for the fetching of the image from the URL and then displaying right here. That'll be phase 2. And then phase 3, of course, is just making the Chrome extension remember which images you previously pinned on your board. All right, so let me start off by showing you what we added. It's just basic HTML and JavaScript. So let's open the board like this. Let's go to google.com. Let's go let's go add pin. And so when we click this save from site, it just shows us an input, so we can paste the URL to an image, and then we just have an upload or a cancel button. So that's this code here, section 3 right here, just the save from site, the input and the upload button and the cancel button. Now the logic for that would be right here, and that would be right here. So if they click that save from site, when they click this guy right here, we hide that save from site text, and we just show the input and we show the upload button and cancel button. Conversely, if they click the cancel button, we just show the save from site text, and we hide the input, hide upload button and the cancel button. Save from site input value. Yeah, and we clear the input value. We're not really concerned about that for this phase. This is what we're concerned with. What happens when they click the upload image? How do we get the image from this URL, the display right here? Well, luckily we have all the logic we need in this file to display a fetched or an image here. So we're just going to copy and paste that logic into here and just modify it a bit. So let's start with that. So let's save the let's say the image URL, and that comes from the input. So let's save from site input.value. Now we need to check the value, because they could easily do something like this.exe. We need to check that it's an actual JPEG or GIF or whatever, PNG. So let's do a check for that. We use a regular expression for that. So let's do this. And we'll say if, we'll say we need a dot, and we'll say PNG. We'll do a grouping. So PNG or JPEG or JPEG. Or what's the other one? GIF. And we'll make sure to anchor it. So if it ends with any of these guys, .test, and what's doing this? // dot, and we need a slash, not slash here, slash there. There we go. So if it ends in any of those guys, and we need to test, not text, test the image URL. So if it passes that test, we're just going to upload. We're going to fetch the image and then upload it into our little our container here. So let's do a fetch. Fetch the image URL. It comes back, and we're going to parse it as a blob. So we'll do .then. We'll say res. We'll do res.blob like that. And do I need to do that? Res blob would, yeah, I think I do that. It might be this. No, just like that. So now that we have the blob information, we can just copy the logic. We do a catch here. Catch error. And just console log that error. You can copy the logic for dealing with a blob. And so all that logic is right here. We deal with a blob with a file reader. So let's copy all of these. Yank. Paste it into here. Paste. Format. So we have file reader. Reader onload. New image. Good. And we need to read a data as a URL. The data is not in the event targets file. The data is in the parsed blob, which is the res here. So we'll just say res like that. And we need to add one more line of code, which is this. Copy, paste, pin image, and we'll say inner HTML is equal blank. We're just saying this line because if they add an image locally, that image is stored here. And then if they add an image, maybe they want to add an image instead through a URL. If we add this image to this image, there's going to be two images stacked on top of one another. So before we add an image from a URL, we're just going to clear, if there's an image here, we're just going to clear that image. So that's what that line is there. Just clear the previous image in the the pin image container here. So that is done. Let's see if it works. Actually, before we do that, so once they successfully upload, we're just going to copy the logic of canceling. So we're going to just hide upload, cancel, and this input. We're just going to show save from site again. So we can copy this logic here, yank, and we'll paste it. Where should we paste it? If, yeah, I'll paste it here. It's DD, there we go, just space here. All right, let's see if it works. Let's get an image. Let's go to images.bing.com. Let's get a Blackfoot cat. Is that a Blackfoot? It's a bear. Let's get this one here, Wikipedia. Let's do a control or right click, copy image address. We can close that. We can close this. Let's do an F5 for good luck. And F5, we'll do it. Refresh the extension. Let's go to Google. Let's add a pin. Google. Let's add our title. Say cat. This is a cat. Is a cat. We'll pick the pin size of large. We'll upload from a site. So Control V. And we'll upload. Should go there. Perfect. We save. And there we go. We have the Google. And we click this. We should go to google.com. All right. So that's phase 2. We have our modal now taking an image from a URL. Let's move on to phase 3, which is just making the Chrome extension. Let's do this. See, I close this. Let's go back to the add pin. See how that pin's gone? We need the Chrome extension to remember the actual pins in the board and then show them when the board gets opened. So let's close this, and let's start with that phase 3. Okay, so first things first, let's make it so that when we click on the My Board button, this board stuff here, it actually opens the board. So let's go to that's the pop-up script right here. And we're going to speak with the background. All right. So in the pop-up script, we're just going to capture, and that was what? Pop-up. ID of my board. So let's just copy this. Copy, paste. There we go, space, and this would be my board. So when they click my board, we're just going to send a message to the background. Runtime, send message, and we'll say this message is open board. Open board like that. Do we need to deal with the response? No, we don't. Let's deal with the message. So open underscore board. So right here we'll say else if request dot message is equal to open underscore board. We're just going to open a new tab. So let me copy. Where's the logic for that? Copy this logic here. And we don't need to save any sort of tab ID. So let's delete this and active true and just open the board. So let's see if that works. Refresh the extension. Click the My Board. There we go. There's the board. Let's move on to first, before getting them out of the storage, let's save pins. So when you do this and we click the save button, we also want to send a message to the background to save all of this data here in the local storage of their browser or their machine. So let's close this. Let's go into the Pinterest mock, go into the board. Where's the save pin? Where's board HTML? What is the button called? The button would be section. What is it? Section is that? Let's go my board. Section, right side, section 1. Let's close this. Pin mock icon, section. This is left side. This would be the right side here. Pin size, value, save. So class underscore save pin. So that would be, that's upload image, save pin right here. So create a pin. We'll do this right here. Before we save or create the pin, we'll get a message from the background saying, I saved the information. You're now safe to save it to the, or show it to the user. So we're just going to do this, chrome.runtime.send message, and 2 S's. This message, yeah, there we go. The message will be save pin, and the payload will just be all of this. It'll be an object. We're going to save the pins as an array of object pins. So the payload is just going to be the user's data like that. We need the response like that. And we'll say if the response is a success, so if response.message is equal to success. Then we have permission to create the pin and reset the modal like that. So let's go in the background and code for this this message here, save_pin. So background right here. So else if request, all right, QUEST message is equal to AGE is equal to save_pin. We're just gonna save it in the local storage. So first we'll get the old pins if there's old pins, and then add this new pin to the old pins and save it as a package. So we'll do chrome, what is it? Chrome.storage.local.get. We want to get pins, we'll say pins, and then we'll say data, returns the data. Now if there's an error in this, so if chrome.local.state, Chrome, what's the error for the, what is the Chrome extension get started? What is the error for the, how to create a code, how do you do this? Storage. Chrome.runtime, I think it's Chrome runtime, local error, something like that. Storage, we need the local storage get. Down. Runtime.last error, there we go. Chrome.runtime, so if there's an error getting these pins, runtime.last, capital E, right? Chrome runtime.last error, key string, perfect. Close this. So if there's an error getting the pins, the old pins, we're just going to say send a response of message fail like this. So you don't get to draw the pin on the board. And since we're doing some asynchronous programming, we have to return true here. This just keeps the message line open while we do the asynchronous programming. So if there's an error, just send response of fail. We'll do a return, so get out of this logic loop. If there's not an error, we are going to do, what are we going to do? Send response of, we'll say message success. And actually, no. First, we have to save the pin. Let me just keep this here. Let's save the pin. So, chrome.storage.local.set, and we want to say pins is equal to some new data. So that data right here, if it's the first time they're saving pin data, the data.pins, so that's the array we're expecting, that might not exist. So if it doesn't exist, we'll do this. So pin, if data.pins exists, then we're just going to destructure it like this. We're going to have an array, we're going to send back or store, so we store all of the old pins, so data.pins, plus the new user's data, which is in the request.payload like that. Now if data.pins doesn't exist, we're going to create the first instance of this in the local storage. So just request.payload like that. Here we go. And callback function. So if it's successful, we'll say, do we need the, no, we'll just check for an error. If chrome.runtime.last error, then we send a response of fail. So if we fail to set the actual data in the storage, we'll send a response of fail and just return it like that. Let me do this. Else, we've successfully retrieved the old pins, set the new pins, and we can say send response of success like that. There we go. Let's see if it works. So save pin, get the old pins. If there's an error, send back a message of fail. Set the new pins if there's actual pins in there. Old pins plus the new pin. Else, if there's no actual data pins started, we just start a new one with the user data they send in. And so we set the local storage. If there's an error doing any of that, we send a message of fail. If there's no error in doing that, finally success. We go back to our board. We get the response message of success. We create the pin and we reset the modal. Let's see if this works. Error. Let me do this. Clear all. Refresh. Good, no errors. Let's go to Google. And do I still have that cat on Control V? No, I don't. Let me get that cat. Images, Blackfoot cat. Let's do click, copy, image address. We'll keep that there. All right, so Google, let's go to add pin. Let's go to cat. This is a cat. And we're going to know if this is successful if it displays the actual pin there. So we got a message of success. So large, we'll do save from site, Control V, upload, save. There we go. So it's successfully saved. Let's do a close of this. Let's go to the board. And it's saved on the back end. It's saved in the local storage. It's not retrieving it. So let's create a message that sends from the board. So every time the board opens, it'll send a message to the background to get the pins. The background will get all of the pins in the storage, send them to the board, and then the board just displays them with a create pin. So every time this board.js runs or the board.html opens, it runs this script file. Every time this board.js script file runs, we'll just do this. So not only are we doing the board loaded stuff, we're doing this chrome.runtime.send message, and that message will be get pins. Message get underscore pins like this. Get pins, we get a response, and we're just going to say if request.message, no, not that, request.message is equal to success. And then we know we got the array of pins from the storage. So we'll do this, the response.payload will be an array. So we'll just loop through it like this. Response.payload for each, it's going to be an array. So for each, and we'll say each pin like that, which will be an object. Perfect. And we'll just do what would be the logic here. Let me copy the create pin logic. Create pin right here now. I'm in the right place. Create pin, this stuff here. Create pin, and we don't need to reset the modal because we're just getting all this stuff. So paste that, and this is just going to be the pin data. I'll say pin data like that. And pin underscore data. And that should work. So let's go to the background and get the pins from the local storage and then push them to the response. So the final conditional of our little tree here is else if request.message is equal to, is it get pins or get pin? Get pins, plural. Get pins will return true because we're doing some asynchronous programming. So keep the message line open, and we can just copy all of, copy this here. Let me copy this. Copy these, paste that here. We don't need the set because we're not setting anything. So we get the pins, there's data. If there's an error, message fail. If there's no error, we'll just do this. Send response of a message of success, and the payload's going to be a ternary. So if there's no data.pins, this is going to blow up. That's going to blow up. So we're just going to check if there's actual data.pins. We're going to send the data.pins. If there's no array saved in the local storage, we're just going to send an empty array like that. So that should work. Send response success. All right, let's see if it works. Get pins, get the pin data. Error, fail. No error, send message success. If there's an actual pins, you could say property in the data, and it's an array, we'll send that back. If not, we'll just send an empty array, return true. We capture it. If success, good. Loop through all of the response.payload. Did I call it payload? Yeah, I called it payload. Response, loop through all of them and just create pin. Let's see if it works. So we can close this, we can close this, we can close this. Let's delete the errors. What's the error? Message port closed, of course it did. Let me see there. Let's go to the board. So if I click board, there's already saved, the cat saved, so we should see the cat. And we don't, why don't we? Error, message port closed. Did I not return true? Else if return true, Chrome storage, send response, request message, get pins. Let's see if we're getting these guys. Let's go console.log data like that. That's going to be in the background. So let's clear this, refresh, give me the background page, give me the console, good. Let's do this. Let's go to my board. We get the pins array. There's the cat right there. That's the pin jack. Default, this is a cat. So we're getting it from the, before it closed, property message of undefined. We're getting it before it closes. Return true, return true. Chrome storage local get. We're getting it. And so let me check that again. Let's go. What would be wrong here? Let me check it again. Refresh. My board. Error. What's the error? Unchecked runtime last error. The message port closed. Oh, we have more than one error. Cannot read property message of undefined. If response.message is equal to success. And then we have this error here. Reference. Error handling response reference request is not defined. Response. Oh, let's fix this one. This should be a response.message, not a request.message. Where's that one? Board 244. Board 244 right here. So response.message. That should free up or fix this one. Save. Let's go back. Clear all. Go back. Close this. Refresh the extension. Let's go to board. Should have a cat. There we go. So that's saving. Any errors? So we still have these errors. Message port closed before response was received. Cannot read property message of undefined. This is the board loaded listener. So this is not the my board or the get pins. So right here it's saying this is undefined. Board loaded, board loaded, board loaded. Board loaded, if sender, send response. Okay. So we have an if conditional here. So now we're not sending a response right away. So we also need a return true here. That should work. Save that. I'll go back. This should be it. Close this. Refresh the extension. Let's go to the board. Should have the cat. There we go. Any errors? There we go. All right. So that works perfectly. No errors. We have the original cat. Let's do one more just to see if it wasn't a fluke. So let's do a frog, a tree frog. We'll do this, we'll do control or right click, copy image address, close. Let's add a pin. Let's go to xe.com. Currency conversion site. Let's do and add a pin from that site. So xe.com, currency exchange rates. We'll do that, whatever. Let's say frog. And we'll say this is a frog, And we'll upload the image from a URL. Upload. There we go. We'll say medium this time. We'll save. We have our frog. We have our cat. Let's close the board. Let's open the board. And we should have the cat and the frog. There we go. Any errors? We still have the errors. What's the error here? And that one comes from board loaded if response message is equal to success. That would be here. Return true. And response message is equal to success. What if the tab, let's do this. What if the tab is not the sender? We'll just do a send responsive fail like this. That should be message fail. Let's see if that fixes it. We'll go back, we'll add one more pin. So clear all this, back, refresh the extension. Let's do images. Let's get a, what is this one? Cormorants. Let's get that guy. Right click, copy image address, close. Let's go to Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance. All right, Yahoo Finance. Let's add the pin. Let's go. This is some sort of bird. This is a bird. Is a bird. Save from site, control V, upload. It's taking a while because the image is probably pretty large. So we'll do a small one for this guy. I'm just gonna wait while it uploads. Unless that image is extremely large. We're gonna save image as, we'll go desktop. Save, let's go to my desktop. How large is this image? No, it's small. Should be there. Unless, I should do ignore case. It's .jpeg with a capital JPG. Let's fix that. That'd be in the board. That would be board logic, which would be up here. And so we'll just do an ignore right here. /I like that. Save. go back, close this, refresh, go here, add pin, bird, this is a bird, this is a bird. We'll do save from site, control V, upload, there we go. We'll do small, save, close this, let's open the board. Any errors? No errors. There we go. So we have the cat, the frog, the bird. We have the ability for the Chrome extension to remember which pins we pinned, send them to the Pinterest clone. The Pinterest clone shows them. We can add a board or a pin manually like this, or we can just go to a site and click the add pin, and it'll take the URL and the title from the site. And so that's going to be it for the video. If this helped you at all, don't forget to give a like. It helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.